Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inside Unreal, a weekly show where we learn, explore, and celebrate everything Unreal. I am your host, Tina, and we have some wonderful guests who might be familiar to a lot of you. But before we introduce them, I'm going to keep you in suspense and go through a couple of news beats that we have for this week. So, the first thing that I want to make sure I call out is Unreal Fest Orlando is just around the corner. It's coming up in June, and as of right now, the tickets are on early bird sale. So if you go and you get your tickets now, you'll get them at a slight discount. This is a limited time offer that's happening. So if you're interested in that, make sure you go check that out. You can find that on unrealengine.com/feed. All the information you need to be able to learn about Fest, what all's going to go on there, and how you can order your tickets is available there for you. The other thing I want to talk about is actually Fab. So Fab is constantly going under updates. It's getting new stuff added all of the time. And I wanted to let you know some of the new things that came out recently for it. So as of now, comment threads have been added to Fab, as well as updated UI in both UE and UEFN integrations. First-person navigation is available in the 3D viewer, as well as there was a 3D viewer UI update and just performance improvements for that overall as well. Then the last thing that I want to cover, that is I love all of these news beats, but this one is my personal favorite of all of them. So if you're part of the Epic developer community where we house our forums, you may very shortly start to see some new kinds of posts popping up in there. So what those are is they will be tagged under a tag called Epic Pro Support. These are solutions that have been sourced from Epic Pro Support, or formerly known as UDN, if that's how you know it better as, which is our licensee support service, which is being shared to give more visibility to helpful insights directly from Epic staff. So this means that you'll have easier access to expert-backed troubleshooting tips and technical solutions to help with your projects as well. So stay tuned. Those will be integrated more and more as time goes on. You should start to see a handful come in probably near maybe in the middle to the end of this month, and then more will be added over time as it goes on. But that sounds really fun. That's some really great information. Hopefully you can learn something really good and helpful and useful from that. Very excited to be able to get some of this information out into y'all's hands as well. With that, I'll stop talking partially because we still have to talk a little. Well, I'll get the guests introduced anyway. So today I have with me the wonderful team behind some projects and templates that you know and love, faces that you have seen on this channel many times before, but I'm going to go through and have them introduce themselves anyway because they're wonderful and we should hear more about them. So Aaron, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, I'm Aaron. I'm a technical artist here at Epic Games. I work on samples, templates, and actually I work on most things. I kind of spread myself across most of the engine at this point. And yeah, just kind of work on stuff that helps educate and hopefully inspire people to build cool stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Wonderful to have you here again. Sam, let's go ahead and knock it over to you now. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Sam. I'm a technical designer at Epic Games, and like Aaron, I work on samples, templates, projects that will hopefully help you make projects of your own and show you how to do things the Epic way. And yes, like Aaron, I keep finding myself in different random pockets of the engine doing things. And so, yeah, you've probably encountered my work somewhere along the way. It's always really fun to be here on the stream.
Yeah, and wonderful to have you here. And then last but absolutely certainly not least, we have Sebastian. Tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Hey folks, I'm Sebastian Hernandez. I'm a content developer for Epic Games right now. Like Sam, like Aaron, I also work on the tech content team, doing everything from project item to templates. Probably the only difference is that I'm usually more on the coding side of things, especially low-level coding, C++, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty generalistic group, so we end up, doing a lot of stuff all over the place, anything from animation to everything else. Spoiler for later, too.
I mean, sneak peek feels appropriate since it is in the title. Which, speaking of which, Aaron, I figured I'd toss it back over to you if you want to tell us a bit about what we're going to be walking through and looking at today.
Yeah, sure. So we've been kind of exploring ways in which we can make the templates a bit more interesting and a bit more helpful for people who are starting out using the engine. So, as many of you will know, hopefully the majority of you know, when you start up the engine, you're greeted with a screen that lets you kind of pick from a number of templates or pre-existing projects that you've got in there. So we've got the first-person project, third person, we've got VR, vehicle variants and stuff like that. So all of those templates kind of give you a bit of a groundwork for you to, kind of start building your own projects off. But they're a little bit light touch. And for the longest time, that was very intentional. We didn't want to clutter those projects with too much content. But we've kind of been looking at it and we realized that actually a lot of people, when they open up the engine, they just don't really know where to begin. So we wanted to kind of build a little bit more of a game into the templates that are currently there and kind of explore or get people to explore that content so that rather than them opening up the engine and be like, oh my God, what now? They actually have a bit of a grounded starting off point so that they can start, maybe just by tweaking some values to change the gameplay a little bit. Or just kind of like help them out a little bit more. So we've been working on this for I would say the last 2-3 months, I think. This has been kind of like our big push for 5.6. So we wanted to give you a little bit of a sneak peek, a little, advanced look at some of the stuff that we're working on. Please feel free to give feedback on any of the stuff that you see. If there's anything that you think is missing or, stuff that you'd like to see, we're always looking for that, so please do let us know. But also just keep in mind, all of this stuff is in development. So it's not the most stable. And we're also working in main as well, which, as we tell most people, never do. But as we work at Epic, that's something that we end up doing most of the time anyway. So the engine's less stable when it's main because we're getting kind of content from people all over Epic on kind of updating the engine. So that does tend to mean that we see some kind of like differences as stuff gets broken a little bit, or kind of we get a little bit of issues here and there. So we're going to be showing you some very new stuff. We're looking in 5.6, which you can pull from Git if you want to. If you want to see the broken version of Unreal at the moment, then you're more than welcome to do so. But we're going to be showing you the content in 5.6. There's nothing new. We're not showing any fancy new features today. This is all stuff that's existed in the engine for for a long time. We're sticking to the core with all the templates that we build. We don't want to add anything that's experimental or even anything really that's in beta, because again, as at Epic, we're constantly telling people, please don't develop anything using experimental features, and be very wary using features in beta. So all of the templates are using content that's kind of existed in the engine for a while.
This is awesome. I love the idea of, like you're saying, giving especially beginners who maybe haven't used the engine at all or are really struggling to figure out how to find their footing in there originally, a better place to start. Something that they can have the foundation built for them and be able to maybe look around and fully understand what they're getting into. This is awesome. I'm really excited to see what y'all have been doing in the meantime.
It's all probably going to change though, because now we've watched the new Nintendo Switch Direct and seen all the new games. We'll be like, well, now we just need to we clearly need to add a kart racing template and some kind of voxel Donkey Kong game. But yeah, no. So I think the main thing that we've done, to give you a very broad overview before we start looking at them, is we've introduced a thing called variants. Which we're currently kind of playing around with at the moment. And what the variants do is they take base template content and they augment it and they kind of extend it. So for the first person template, before you had an empty room with a gun and you could run up to the gun, you could pick it up and you could shoot some stuff. But now what we've done is we've actually stripped the first person back, so it's absolute basic, and then we've moved all of the gun content and like to a standalone variant called shooter. And then we've added more of those to all of the different templates. So basically, when you pick your template, the idea is that you pick a base template and then you can pick and choose which variants you want in there. And those will give you more content that kind of show you how to make that kind of game. So you pick the first person template, you add the shooter variant, and then it gives you all of the stuff that you need to kind of make a first person shooter. But the nice thing about that is that you can choose to have none of that content if you don't want it. So you can pick the first person template with no variants, and you'll just get the absolute bare bones, kind of a first person character that can run around in an empty area, and that's it. So that way we're kind of trying to please both sides of people who don't want anything,
Right.
and the people who want all of that extra stuff to help them get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am excited to actually dig in if you are open to that, because I think being able to actually see a little bit of what you're talking about would be exciting.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start off, if you all don't mind, with the vehicle sample, because again, it's one that actually had quite a lot of content already added to it. We added the off-road vehicle and the off-road map, and then the kind of the track map. So we've added a new version of this and introduced some new functionality. So we've modified some of the project settings, and we've done some optimization. But now we've got like a proper 3, 2, 1, go. I'll just restart that just in case you missed it. So now you have like a proper introduction. The camera, the movement input is frozen in that time. So we have a disable input handler and an enable input handler. We now do have some track monitoring as well. So as you go around the track, I'm not sure how well you'll see it, but there is a line that's kind of pointing to the next marker. And that's basically tracking how far along the track you're progressing. And that way we can really easily introduce things like lap counters, and also time trial counters as well. So we've added a time trial version in that tracks your current time on the track. I'm looking at too many things at once, and I'm really terrible at driving this car. I'm going to try
Better than I would do.
yeah. And yeah, so now it will store your time, and then you can try and beat it on the next one, which I'm not going to try and do because I did get sub 29 seconds at one point, but that was, without being on stage presenting at the same time. So we've done stuff like that. We've got, we've added little things like cones that you can drive through, and they're kind of like physics interactable. So you can go and, kind of drive through them and knock them over. We're including the blueprints that are used to generate that, which will eventually move over to PCG once that comes out of beta. And we've also done a load of optimizations as well. So previously, the templates came packaged with very high quality textures. They were about 4K each, and there were a lot of them. We've gone in and we've optimized a lot of those textures down, and also, kind of recombined a lot of the maps together. So we're actually going to be shipping the templates at a much smaller footprint than they were initially, even though we're adding a load more content to this. So in this map, we've got an example of how to do landscape painting, how to use the road tool, and also how to use the road tool in a way where you're affecting the landscape and then not affecting the landscape. We're using RVTs to paint content down to the landscape as well and show you how to set up your base landscape properly and things like that. So you can see we've got this little kind of orange edge glow, and that's being painted down by the road, and then it's also projecting it to the landscape as well. So we're adding all of this stuff in to try and showcase exactly how you set all of these things up and the kind of the best practices for those. I've been talking a long time now, so I feel like Sam, you should take over and show us one of your templates that you've been working on.
Sure. Yeah, if Dan wants to throw it over to me, I will start streaming. Let's go. All right, so if we're up and running. So one thing I wanted to do when we were kicking this off is I wanted to bring back the side-scrolling template, because I feel like there's a lot of space for games sort of from this perspective in Unreal, and we're seeing a bunch of them, so people should be able to answer most of their basic questions. And so this is a 2.5D template with a custom camera built with a custom player camera manager that all in Blueprint, all annotated, so you can see how to build like a side-scrolling platform game camera. It's got full sort of environment interaction functionality. So things like bounce pads, double jumping, and then also basically things that I thought people might want to know, like how to jump through collision, using collision channels, how to do a wall jump, because wall jumping is one of those things that people do, and there are a lot of ways you could do it. So we wanted to find the most sort of simple, easy to understand, easy to implement yourself, and then optimize for your game version. So you can see there's kind of a pattern with what Aaron showed and what I'm showing now, in that we basically want to show you all of the different bits you'd need to build a game in the context of a game that you can then take and make your own exactly how you want. So one thing we have in the side scrolling is NPCs with AI, and these are built with State Tree, because State Tree is now the sort of preferred way to build AI. So we wanted to show you how to build both simple and, as you'll see, more complex AI in different templates based on the needs. Like side-scrolling action game, this guy just follows me around. That's what he does. But as you'll see in some of the other templates, they can go a lot further than that. And then how to do interactivity. In this case, this is interface-based. How to bound your camera, and thus, cap the end of the world, all of that kind of stuff. So in this case, we have interface-based interaction. All of the input is enhanced input. All of the AI is State Tree. And we're going to do, obviously Blueprint and C++ versions of these. So whichever is your preferred way to do things, we will have them set up for you. Also, yeah, there are fun things like I built a knockback effect for the NPC. This NPC may not look like this when you finally see them. Right now, they're my little test guy. But, so there we go. This is the side-scrolling template that is built from the third-person template, basically. And then the other thing that I've done, and I could probably just open it up. Why not? So my stream ended. Sorry about that, Dan. My stream will come back, I promise. But I'm going to show you the top-down templates while we're doing that. So here we go. I'm going to start streaming again. Are we streaming? I think we are streaming. Try that again.
Let's see. Not yet, looks like.
Not yet. Let's go now. How about now? There we go. That seems
there
good.
we go.
Sorry about that, folks. So yeah, this is. So you may remember Unreal 4 had a top-down template that was very much in your sort of shootery vein, and then Unreal 5, the top-down template was kind of more of a maybe almost like an action RPG template, but just with a character. And so we have two top-down variants. Much like side-scrolling is kind of a variant of third person, these are variants of top-down. So first up is strategy, and this is very different to the platformer one, just to show you kind of what we're doing. So this is very much a strategy game or RPG template. So you have drag selection, you have unit control, you have multi-unit select and movement. They will interact with each other if you want, which is kind of fun. Come on, guys, interact. They don't want to interact the moment you tell them to. That's what happens. There you go.
You're shy.
They
it's
start
okay.
dancing. Little dancing guys. But yeah, so the idea here is this is built with an orthogonal camera. Doesn't have to be. You can easily change this back to a regular camera, but we have the ortho camera, and for strategy games, RPGs, it's often the preferred camera since it gets you that clear, non-lens warped perspective. But it's got the same thing. It's got physics interactions. It's got navigation. So you can see how to set up your nav mesh. So characters can go from nav mesh to nav mesh. They can navigate complex areas. We have environment interaction in terms of things like doors you can open. But yeah, so the idea here is if you are building an RPG, a strategy game, something like that, it shows you how to implement things in kind of the Epic way. For instance, this drag select is built between the player controller and a HUD set up within the game mode. And because one of the fun things with a HUD is that you can draw directly to the screen. So I can just draw this rectangle in HUD, and then feed it information from the play controller about mouse position. This version also has a full touch implementation. So if you're doing a game aimed at iPad or something like that, or phones where you want touch controls for a strategy game or an RPG, would be useful for that too. But then, for fun, I'm going to switch to my other variant, and before I hand it back to Aaron, which is the inverse of that. This is my top-down action one, and for this, I'm going to play with a gamepad. This is totally fun with gamepad.
Oh,
And
You lost you again, Sam.
we lost me
we lost
again.
you.
Oh, there you go.
did.
You're okay.
Did it come back, or no? And
He's
then
back.
maybe I'll toss back to Aaron, and then I'll show this one because editor just went a bit funny on
Yeah,
me.
sure. We can switch over to mine.
Experimental early build stuff. Hand wave.
I've got
We
all
get
of them
it.
open as well, so God knows what's going to happen with running 4 instances of Unreal at the same time on my machine while trying
Living
to
real
live stream.
dangerous.
While live streaming, what could go
Um,
wrong?
Yeah. So this is the shooter variant that I've been working on. So it's the first person version, but this one has been a real challenge on this one, because we've tried to add full body, so you've got kind of, you can run around and you can see your legs and your torso and your arms and stuff. So we've got this new map which is very kind of like arena shooter focused. We're adding these 1 second. I'm back all of my meshes. There we go. We've added a few different things as well. So inside our level prototyping folder, which normally just housed some basic assets, a couple of little meshes and stuff like that. So we have updated all those meshes so that they're nanite friendly now. So they've got more geometry in them, so you get much nicer rounded edges and surfaces. But we've also added some interactables as well. So we've got a jump pad, we've got a shoot target, we've got a door frame and a damage zone, and I can run you through all of those as well. So we've got our jump pad here, you go onto it, it throws you up into the air, very simple. So your character can have a little fun, just jumping around. Something to do. And then we've also got doors as well, so you can go in, you can run through these nice doors. We finally solved doors. It's a miracle after all this time. We can go in and we can pick up different weapons. We can shoot these targets. Don't know how loud that is. Probably shouldn't just shoot arbitrarily over and over again. And then we've also got these damage pads as well. So you can kind of go in, touch them, and then they'll hurt you. And if you land on them enough, then they're gonna they'll kill you, and then you'll respawn again. So that's the other thing as well. We're adding in all of the little, kind of bits and pieces that actually make something a game. So this one has a kill counter in the top, so you can kind of shoot different opposed enemies. When you die, you respawn back again, and all of that logic is kind of handled for you, so you don't have to worry about it too much. We've still got the physics cubes just hanging around for you to shoot if you want to, which is always fun. Can't get rid of those. And we've got some different weapons as well. So now, as well as having kind of this new rifle, which we have got from Lyra.
This is my favorite thing. Is the
We've also
these
got a
bullets
pistol
right here.
as well, so that you can shoot your pistol, and then we've still got the kind of the big chunky gun as well, which is the nice grenade launcher to kind of like fire stuff. So we've not got rid of it. We're just playing around with it. So you can do all of these different things, right? And all of this stuff is very, very simple. It's very, very quick and easy to set up. We've tried to kind of not go complicated with any of the content. We've tried to keep it nice and simple, but we've also kind of tried to build it in a way where it's easy for you to swap out stuff with your own meshes, your own assets, to expand it a little bit, and for it to easily handle that. So the door is a great example of this. So we've got a completely dynamic door frame, so you can kind of go in, you can kind of make it whatever size you want. We've exposed a load of settings as well, so you can kind of set the materials that you want to use on it. Again, you can swap out the meshes, whichever one you want. You can choose to have it have a door frame or not, and just be the actual, kind of the base door. You can even choose how it opens and closes as well. So if I just drop this back, in fact, I'll just use the one that I've got placed here. You've got, at the moment, it kind of drops down, but you can press the split door mode, and then when you run up to it, it will open from, kind of from either side and go in, kind of that way. And then you've got different adjustments as well that you can make as well on, kind of the door size, door thickness, all of that stuff. So we've just added some, again, really simple logic that means that you're not going in with this completely empty setup. Same with the guns as well. We've got, kind of examples of how to do async loading in the code. So when it, kind of when it pulls the content, it grabs the weapon data from a data table, and that content is set up in a way where it's a soft reference rather than a hard reference. So it shows you how to do a nice and simple async load on all your content, and that way we're trying to teach best practice with this stuff so that you're not getting in a situation where when you open up your map, you load in the entire the entire project, basically. You're just kind of like loading in the bits that you actually need. So we're adding all of that stuff in. Same with the jump pad. Again, really, really simple setup. We do a simple cast character, we force them to jump, and then we do a velocity throw into the air as well. So, we've got all of these different features in here. We even show you how to set up damage and stuff like that because, a lot of stuff is built into the engine already. Epic already has, or the Unreal already has a damage handling system where you can set damage on things and then set responses based on when you receive that damage and so on.
So much of this is us going, what didn't I know that I wish I'd known?
Yeah.
I started making games in Unreal. Yeah.
So this is our kind of like our base structure that we're doing. We've got our characters folder, which has Manny and Quinn, our standard, our standard skeletal meshes. They've again been optimized, so they're on a much lighter texture usage, much more simplistic material setup as well. So we've stripped out a lot of the stuff that's just kind of unnecessary bulk. And we've tried to focus it on the areas where it's going to kind of provide people with as much content as possible. So that's our first person template. And then that's our shooter variant that we have in there. I've also done a horror one as well, which I'm kind of playing around with, which I kind of like. Let that load. So it kind of shows you, kind of like how to go about doing different lighting setups. I'll just do my nanite fix again because the mesh rendering's being a bit funny in this CL of Unreal. So it kind of shows you how to set up, kind of like a nice dynamic lighting scenario. You can go in, you can see all the different things, see something spooky happen, and spiders, stuff like that.
Trigger warning, Aaron.
I know it was appalling. So yeah, we've got kind of like just a different setup to show you kind of like here's how you go about setting up some atmospherics and lighting an interior scene, and kind of how to make sure the lights that you're putting into the world are going to be as optimized as possible, so you're not doing too much light overlap. Obviously, some of that stuff's going to get kind of solved with Megalights, but as Megalights is experimental, we're obviously not relying on that feature for this version. So that's what we've got for the first person. I don't know if we want to switch it over to someone else.
I can take over. All right, let's give it a minute for it to switch to my screen. I apologize in advance if the quality is a bit choppy and not working off of the best internet right now, so hopefully it doesn't cause any issues here. All right, so I've been working on the third-person template, and this is the platforming variant for this. So this is the simpler of the two, and the main idea for this is that Unreal has a very, very powerful character movement component system. So it's easy to configure your character for different setups with very, very little work in case you want it, right? So the standard template that we have is meant to provide a general purpose movement for the character so it can feel very, very dry. So if you want to do something that's a little bit closer to a console platformer, you are probably going to want a little bit more, a little bit less friction with the environment. You're going to want to change the turn rate and some of the air control properties. So we're showcasing some of these things in the template here. I don't know if it's going to pick up well over the stream, but you can actually feel the difference when you control the different templates. It's very noticeable, the effect that you have here. There's also the camera system. So there's a lot of different features there, like camera lag, camera smoothing, that all they basically need to do is to just switch some properties, turn on a few flags. So this is basically going to demonstrate this, right? Another feature that you may not even have known that Unreal has, right? So you can actually enable press and hold jumps on the character movement component just with a single flag. So this is not enabled on the default template, but you can see right now, if I just tap the jump button, my jump is going to be very, very low. If I just go full on and hold for about half a second, you can see that I'm actually doing a longer jump. Okay. So that's for the basic ones. You can see that I also added foot trails. First, to demonstrate that you can actually do this pretty easily with almost no setup on the template. And just to provide a little bit more feedback on the jump trails, right? So next we have double jump, and this is actually using different methods for this. We're actually applying a secondary impulse and just setting some rules on Blueprint for this. And you can see that there's also a double jump animation that we're going to ship with the engine. I apologize if it's a little bit wonky. Again, I'm a coder, not an animator, so we'll see how it goes. But for now, I think it's working, okay? Another thing that's very typical for these types of games is animation-based movement. And Unreal has a very good solution for this, which is root motion. So we set up a dash animation that we picked up from Lyra. And we've set it up on the template. So you can see that it can be used for a simple movement plane dashing forward. You can combine it with other game mechanics. For instance, here we can do a double jump and a dash to go over a larger gap. You can establish some restrictions, so you can see that you're not going to be able to triple jump or do something else. You can only dash once per jump cycle as well. And finally, we also have some basic wall jump, which I just blatantly stole from Sam's 2D template. And I added an animation
I'm
that,
now going to blatantly steal from you.
of course, feel free. Feel free to take it. So yeah, that's the basic third-person template. There's one more variant that I'm working on, but I'm just gonna pass it to someone else on the team so we can show you something else, and then we'll come back to this one.
I can take it again if you folks want. Let me just set up and I will stream
Yeah,
the
of
one
course.
that didn't want to stream before. Let's do it. Let's see. All right. Let us.
I also
There we
want to add
go.
as well that we've color coded all of the templates as well. So they're actually based off all of the Unreal colors. So I think the first person is going to be like new level yellow, and I think Seb's third person one is material green, stuff like that. So we're sticking to the engine in engine colors for these, but yeah, showing how they all work.
Yeah, that's kind of a fun Easter egg.
Yeah, it's fun. It means that you can kind of, not only is it pretty, but it also lets you know where things come from. So if you want to go back to the source, you can just look on the color coding where it comes from, which is nice. So this is the top-down template shooter variant, much as before I showed the strategy variant, and it's kind of an evolution of the old top-down shooter, though it's been built from scratch. So what we have here is top-down character movement, tuned control. There is a dash. You can see me dashing there, though I have yet to blatantly steal Sebastian's animation. There is the NPC AI is again state tree based. I've got the camera is the standard Unreal camera. Like, to echo what Sebastian said, it's incredibly powerful. So I tuned it to create this very different sort of lazy, slow scrolling top-down camera. Since this is an arena-based game, it provides movement. There is obviously chaos physics in the enemy destruction. There is manipulation of the global time dilation values using timelines, so you can sit outside global time dilation while manipulating it, and that's in a couple of places. Also, when the player gets knocked back by enemies, it slows time, which
I
is
love
fun.
that giant yellow explosion that's caused
Sam's anime bomb.
like, it's one of the few instances where I've seen kind of like what's essentially like a kind of a glitch from Lumen actually giving you quite a nice effect. You get that kind of outline and then it kind of disperses. It's great.
You see what happens when you let designers use tools and then engineers go, "You're not meant to use it like that." And I'm like, sorry. But
that's an artifact.
So
and you're like, no, it's a feature.
It's a feature. Ship it. But yeah, so I built this. So anyone who wants to build kind of a fast-paced action game, they have a full control setup for gamepad and mouse and keyboard. You have tuned play control. You have NPC AI. You have a combo system because with a timer. So the combo timer will actually start counting down if you do not keep destroying enemies. So you can see how to implement that, and that's all just implemented through the gameplay framework. So it's a couple of interfaces. It's incredibly clean, and the idea is to show you just how to get things to play together nicely so you can build your game. And then, yeah, secondary inventory items, secondary attacks with the bomb, and yes, some Lumen abuse that you probably shouldn't take as a lesson. That's kind of this one. It's designed to be very simple. But one thing that is worth pointing out is that we've said this a couple times, is that we're sharing a lot between these. So the bounce pad that's in the side-scrolling one is the same as the bounce pad that's in the first-person one. Is the same as the bounce pad that's in the third-person platformer. The idea is that we're showing you how to use these tools in different contexts too, and how to make them play nice together. It's one of the fun things with Unreal, and I can just sit here playing this all day because I like shooters. One of the fun things about Unreal is that because all these systems are integrated with the engine, you can make them interact with one another to get results, like me using time dilation and chaos physics to create these cool explosions. That's getting Unreal to play nice together, or getting these guys to knock me back and slowing time when that happens. Just seeing how to do that in a way that's very clean will save you days of sort of working out how to do it yourself, when really you can be focusing on making your game the best game it can be. So I'm happy to hand back to someone else at this point, or you can just watch me run up a crazy high score in a game I built, which is...
No, I think we just turn this into a let's play and we just we just watch you carry on. Should we do some questions? Because I think we've covered most of the templates. I mean, we can dig into the logic a little bit more, but do a few questions first.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dig in here. Let me pull some of these up. Now I'm the one caught off guard. All right, first question I've got here is they're curious if these templates are going to be available for both Blueprint and C++, or if they're designed for just one over the other.
Yep. So they'll be both Blueprint and C++. We're making Seb do all of the work on the C++ ones, though. You don't want to see my C++ code. It would be
very sad if you look at me like, well, I wrote the idea of what the code should be, and then Sebastian will write it. Well, but yeah, it also means that when we're doing our blueprinting, we're like, well, Sebastian's going to look at this, so I need to do it.
Yep.
Nicely.
Also, I tend to overcomment my code, so don't worry if you are not confident on your C++ skills. You should be handheld through the entire process.
And we are trying to comment everything in as much detail as possible, so you really see what we're doing. It's not just, oh yeah, and then the magic happens. We want you to know how the magic happens.
And then it just works. I don't know. Maybe it's a controversial opinion, but I don't think it's possible to overcomment code. So I think that's going to work out just fine.
I read sometime ago when I was in grad school from someone very, very wise that I can't remember right now, that you should probably do like 2 lines of comments for every line of code. Um, most of Unreal is not up to that spec, but I'm trying to get close to that on some of the templates.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Next question for y'all is there a new camera system with all of the templates, or was that just for the third person?
So we've got a couple different ones where we're using the existing Unreal camera systems because again, it's not new tech, but it's like for the side scrolling, I used the Player Camera Manager and built a custom camera setup that you can switch between. So you can be third person or side scrolling view. And then Sebastian, I think, did you build a new camera or did you
Nope.
use the
In
existing
this,
camera? It's just really nicely tuned.
yeah, in this one, for the third person template, I'm just using the standard spring arm plus camera setup that comes with Unreal. So everything is already built into the engine. If you want to see a more complex custom setup, shameless plug here, just check Titan's code because we did a more advanced custom camera that's extensible and that has some cool extra features on top.
Yeah, I think
Yes, definitely.
in terms of camera work, we've tried to keep it simple, but there are some cool things in a lot of the different templates. So I think Sam did some really nice custom camera manager logic for the side scroller, which is really cool. So doing a fixed camera, I think, right, and then Z-lock
Yeah, so yeah, we
camera.
do one of the things, yeah, it's one of the things with a side-scrolling game is you think, oh, I should just flip the camera 90 degrees and I've got a side scroller. But in reality, what you have then is a camera that moves every time you move, which could be what you want or not. And so establishing some kind of dead zone for your horizontal movement and then not moving on moving on vertically unless you have to is really key to creating kind of a stable camera that makes it easier to read your game space, makes it less nauseating for people who get nauseous from camera movement and so on. And so we wanted to show you how you can very simply build a camera that's essentially Z-locked, except when it doesn't need to be. So you don't have weird edge cases. It can handle you falling off a giant space or anything, but it is still very simple and extensible. So you can then take it and turn it into the 2D camera of your dreams. But yeah, I think we've tried to do that overall. It's not do anything wild, but build it very simply. So you can go, oh yeah, this is how they're doing the Z clamping versus going, oh, well, if I trace back these 500 blueprint nodes, I can work out how it works. It's like, let's do it in the cleanest, sort of simplest way possible, and then annotate the heck out of it. And then also give each other lots of feedback, which has been fun. It's great going to other people at Epic and going, oh, can you take a look at the top-down strategy one? And they're like, well, didn't you intend to do this, this, and this? And you're like, oh yeah, I should probably also do those things.
Yeah.
That might be how we got drag scrolling and touch controls. But you know, but yeah, like for instance, the top-down strategy has that doesn't have a custom camera at all. That's just a spectator pawn being manipulated by the player controller.
But it does show you how the orthographic camera, which for more versions than we should have had, was not a usable feature. A lot of the rendering features just didn't work with orthographic. But that's changed as of quite a few versions ago. I think it was 5.3. Yeah, I think it might have been 5.2, but maybe you're right.
5.4, it was really solid though. And
so that's got an orthographic camera, and also one of the really nice things that we've had, which has come across from Fortnite, obviously adding a new mode, which I think was called Ballistic, the first person mode. We actually got a ton of like first person specific features added to the engine. So I can show you these. If I go, I'll switch back over to Shooter. See if I can beat. Oh, Dan's already beaten me to the punch on loading my screen.
This is the answer to one of the most common Unreal Engine questions I see posted. I mean, this makes life so much easier.
So on the on our first person character, we actually have a first person primitive type, which has been added to the engine. So you can basically mark whichever actors you want to be a world space representation, so basically like the third person view, or a first person camera perspective. And then on the camera, you actually have the option to augment the field of view for the first person specific assets, which is something that a lot of shooters have done for a very, very long time. And also to modify the scale as well. So you can actually kind of make the actor, the mesh technically smaller, which means that when you do stuff like run right up to a wall, your gun doesn't poke through the wall, right? Because the mesh is actually much smaller than you think it is. So you can enable both of those. And this actually extends out a lot more than you think it does as well, because there's actually a lot of lighting tricks that get applied to this on top of that. There's been extensions added to the material editor so that you can actually do blending between the first person and third person warped view. Because obviously, if you make your character 0.8 the scale and then have a warped field of view, your feet will no longer touch the floor at the right point. So you actually need to do a bit of blending back into the third person representation. So that's all been added into the material editor as well. So it's a really extensive feature set that's been added to the view there. And doing a first person full body character representation is still quite difficult to do. I've tried to do as much as possible to try and make that as kind of as easy as possible. But having those features in there has definitely made it a lot easier because you can do some really nice warping with that otherwise you wouldn't have been able to do. So I think that covers most of the camera introductions we've added.
That's awesome. Oh my God, there's so much. I'm just excited about like everything that's in all these templates. Even just myself, selfishly, there's so much in these. This is awesome.
I love that my job is this. It's really cool. Like
It's
just
so
being able
much
to build,
fun.
just going to build fun little templates, and I get to build it for developers rather than gamers, which is always a lot more fun.
I wanted to work. It's like the jumping through platforms and side scrolling. I'm like, I want to do the Shinobi jump. I'm sorry, Sega. I'm just gonna reference your IP. But yeah, I wanted to do the jump up through platform, jump down through platform. And I see questions about that all the time. How do I do that with Unreal's collision system? How do I make that work? And just it's like, let's answer those questions so people can go do cool stuff instead.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that these are set up not just as like a way for people to plug in and immediately start playing, but they're also set up educationally as well. So they actually know how these systems work. They can open it up, learn it for themselves, and then apply whatever pieces they want to their own projects, even if it doesn't directly come from the template. Very cool.
Yeah, people are going to be horrified when they see what I've done to the first person character, because I've broken that poor Manny in so many ways to make the camera view look kind of right, which is it looks a bit horrendous when you're seeing it, which obviously you'd never do in game, but when you preview it out of editor, you're like, oh my God, what have they done to its spine?
He's gonna be a meme.
Yeah, probably.
Just don't pull back the camera, okay?
Yeah.
Just don't do it, everyone. Just look at it for how beautiful it looks as intended, and then leave it as that. The next question I've got here for y'all is they're wondering if these templates are going to be set up with replication for multiplayer in mind, or if you think that these would be easily adaptable to multiplayer.
So the plan is to not yet to support replication, mostly because it's going to be a very involved process and it's going to change the way that you code a lot of this stuff. Okay. Just to give you an example, you have Aaron's first-person shooter template, right? If you want to turn this into a replicated multiplayer game, you not only need a first-person representation for the character, you also need a third-person representation for the character, which it has. But then you also have to synchronize animations, make sure that you spawn all of the bullets and traces at the right places. You react to the hits even when there's lag, right? So it tends to get very, very complicated very quickly for that. Okay, there's other tools that are going to help a lot with that. You have gameplay ability system. You have a bunch of other stuff that is probably going to be the recommended setup if you want to do a more complex replicated experience, right? And we already have a pretty comprehensive sample for something like that right now, which is Lyra. We're probably going to do some other stuff with replication eventually, right? Because Lyra is a very heavy project. It's very complex, right? But it was a bit of a discussion at the beginning, how much complexity we wanted to pack into this, and replication is a very, very easy way to double or triple the amount of work and complexity that you need to do in a project to do it right. Right, you can basically just enable replication and the variable is going to be replicated, right? But once you start thinking, well, what happens if there's lag? What happens if there's a desynchronization between the variables? How do I recover from this? What happens if a user logs out at some point? There's a lot of boilerplate that you need to account for, and that is going to balloon up the size of your template. So
Yeah. The
yeah.
thing that we've gone for instead is AI. So most of the templates will ship with an AI example for the equivalent asset. So Seb's way better at AI than I am. So that's why his template already has an AI character that you can run up to and punch. Have we shown that one? Did we show that one? We did.
We haven't shown it yet, but I
I've
got it ready.
spoiled things. Okay, yeah. Do you want to load that one up because we can show that one as well? But yeah, so we're going to be adding AI to all of the characters and all using state tree rather than behavior tree. It's the kind of the new way of doing things. It's out of experimental, out of beta. So we're pushing on that. So yeah, well, we're not supporting replication because, as Seb said, it's a significant increasing in complexity. We are adding AI opponents and things like that so that you have some, kind of nice basis. I always prefer fighting against bots anyway, so, who cares?
Yeah, me too,
Just
especially
most
when you can turn
gamers.
the difficulty way down.
Yeah, it's one of some of the advice we give is if you're building your first game, probably don't build a multiplayer game. Learn how to do it single player where you have less dependencies and less things to worry about. And then when you do your multiplayer game, don't just try and adapt your single player game to be multiplayer. It's better to build your architecture for multiplayer from the ground up. Like if you're going
templates is just not a good place for online network demonstration. That's where Lyra comes in, right? And I think I kind of like the fact that there's a much higher, kind of difficulty level for Lyra, because that's equivalent to how much harder your life is going to be with if you do an online game.
I mean, a lot of the blueprinting in Lyra is me. So if you hate that blueprinting, come yell at me on the internet, I guess.
Don't yell at Sam. Don't yell at me.
I'm
Sam.
nice. But it's one of those things where, I was like, I'd done some replication blueprinting, I'd done some online design, I'd worked on some multiplayer games, and still I'm like, oh, this is hard. And it just is hard. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. It's never going to be, oh yeah, I can just knock out a multiplayer game like that. It just doesn't work like that. I mean, Sebastian has built one live in 4 hours at some point, but he's superhuman, so.
I don't think so, Cats.
No, and it didn't go as well as you would have thought, even in 4 hours. And it's 4 hours of me speaking and concentrating in front of a computer. So that's probably not going to be the most engaging experience for anyone involved.
People love live debugging. It's their favorite.
True. I can confirm that actually. So did y'all wanna we do have more questions, or did you want to go through, it sounded like there might have also been some other stuff to show. Want to make sure we can show off everything you want to.
Yeah, let's do the. I mean, we've only got one more sample left, so we might as well show it. I completely spaced on it. I thought we changed. I had it
and
up on
one
my
more
screen. I
thing.
think that's why.
I thought
But
you were
yeah,
doing.
so
I
yeah,
thought
so
you were doing
show
a
off-
Steve Jobs. You're going to be like, and one more thing.
Yeah. Oh, that could have been our one more thing. Ah, dang
You're not
it.
wearing
can
the
take it
black
back.
turtleneck.
Yeah.
We
No,
can
it's too
take it
late now.
back.
We've
Cut
already.
and post. Everybody forget the
Yeah.
last 30 seconds.
Everyone forget what we've just said. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do the one more thing. No, it's fine. You can show it. It's good.
Okay.
It's really cool. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ready whenever. So
All
let me get my
right, there we
screen.
go.
Okay, so we got third-person action combat template, and this one is very animation focused, right? So this is one of the other types of games that people are going to request more when you do a third-person perspective game. So hopefully this helps cover a lot of the stuff that we're doing, right? So we're using animation montages. Hopefully I'm not butchering the pronunciation too much. Again, not native English speaker, right? But basically what this means is animation on demand. So you can press the quick attack button up to 3 times, and you're going to be able to do a 3-stage combo, or you can just do 1 or 2, depending on how you want. There's also a charge attack. So in this one, you press and hold. You're going to have a looping animation for as long as you hold, and then you release it, and you have it, right? It's not just animation. You can actually punch stuff. So we got these boxes, and they're physics simulated, so you can send them flying. And they have a life total. So you can see that they actually explode in the lava, the green lava, because that's my template's color. And this is actually using interfaces to show you how you can actually do a common mode of communication for different types of entities within your game, right? So the way that the box receives damage is going to be the same way that NPCs, enemies, anything else in the world is going to take damage. And speaking of NPCs, we also have an enemy. We have an enemy AI, and it's going to flank you. It's going to just idle for an uncomfortable amount of time right now, and then it's just gonna come in and try to combo you off. You can punch it. You can see that there's actual ragdoll and screen shake reactions for this. There's life bars, so these guys can actually die. And there's more ragdoll as well. You have enemy spawners here, so we are actually showing you how you can dynamically spawn enemies on your game. And there's actually some activatable templates here. So once I kill this enemy, you're going to see that the other 2 spawners are going to activate, and then I'm going to be at a disadvantage. You can actually, not sure if I'm going to be able to show it on stream, but you can actually punch these guys into lava. Let me see if I can get it done.
Come on, Seb.
Yeah,
I think they're going to punch you into lava. Come on.
I can.
Pride of our team.
I can just get their job for them. So we got respawning, and there's actually a checkpoint. So there's an invisible volume over here that is going to update the checkpoint when you enter the arena. And so yeah, it's been pretty fun to work on this, right? Aaron was actually saying that the wind up for the attack animations is pretty noticeable. So you can probably tell what my favorite game genre is, right? Pretty excited about yesterday's announcement. If you saw the Nintendo stream.
You're a big Donkey Kong guy, is what you're saying.
Yep. I'm also a big Donkey Kong guy.
Actually, I'm the guy. I'm actually really excited for the Donkey Kong game. It looks really awesome. But yeah, that's the thing. That's why I love this. Is I also play a lot of like sort of difficult third-person melee combat games. And yeah, it's nice to see how to show people how you can build that in Unreal. And I mean, the things that I think are incredibly useful, both the AI and also so many times if I'm looking online, people go, how do I come back from Ragdoll and make it not look weird?
Mhm.
And that is a huge win for people to just know how to do that off the bat.
So
Save
now
you,
you have an example for that? Uh-huh.
save you having to Google it and then watch a long video and then maybe do it weirdly. That's my hope anyway.
So again, it's funny because it's been pretty hard to just hold back and choose the right amount of complexity for something like this, because again, this tends to get addictive. Once you start implementing new features on some of these templates, you actually want to keep adding more and more, and maybe you can do launch attacks, and maybe you can do air combos and that kind of stuff. But then you end up with a full game, and that is probably not going to be as educational or as useful as just providing the basics for everyone, right? But
Yeah.
even if that is the case, I mean, we're open to feedback. So if there's more stuff that you would like to see, or if there's important features that are that you think should be in, well, maybe we can see if we can do something between now and the time that we need to get this done. Almost got it that time.
Yeah. We have a lot of different ways of delivering this kind of content, right? So templates is just one of them. Content examples is another brilliant one, which is where, it's great if we want to show a very specific single feature or a very specific set of features, but we don't need like a whole game wrapped around it to show it. The templates are really nice because they're just kind of like supposed to be, here is like a nice jumping off point for you. So here's a good starter where there's not too much clutter in there where it's confusing or you're having to dig through a ton of stuff just to figure out how it all works. It's light enough that you can find everything easily. But there's still enough content in there for you to really kind of sink your teeth into. So that's kind of where we're trying to balance it with templates, and it is a bit tricky, but I think we're getting there. And then obviously we have samples on top of that, which are much more full featured examples. So we've got Titan, Crop Out, and Lyra, the city sample. These are like really really you open them up and you're like, oh my god, there's so much stuff in here to pick apart and learn from. So they all have their place, and we try and kind of container the content in that way, so people can kind of move on to those areas, without getting too overwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome. And
Should we do questions while we watch Seb fight off
yes.
more and more nannies?
Yes.
I think that I already beat it.
Oh, you've beaten them all. I thought that it just kept. We need to change it so they keep spawning. I want them to spawn
More and
and
more.
increase by one each time until you are just like completely overwhelmed by them.
All right.
At some point, we do a mass AI implementation. You're
Yes.
fighting 600.
600 mannies.
Yeah.
Oh God. Do you
And that's
fight
called
one
feature creep.
horse-sized manny
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
Then they all combine together.
what Sebastian says about the feature creep is so true. Like, it's so easy to be like, oh, and I'm making a platform game, and now I need an enemy, now I need a different kind of enemy and a power-up, and now I need a boss and a level, and yeah. You go down a rabbit hole, and then the meeting on Monday, you're like, I made a whole game. People are like, thanks, we needed a third of that.
I appreciate your enthusiasm.
I love how chat's just going, do a kart racing template. It's like, there's a lot of people in there thinking Mario Kart's too expensive, and they're like, no, I could just use the template and that'd be fine.
So we'll do Tim Sweeney Kart at some point. It's going to be great. We'll have a bunch of like public facing Epic employees.
Yeah,
like
when Sam wants
characters.
to end his employment at Epic,
Yes.
you can do it. You can do a Tim Sweeney Kart.
I will get an email and then a phone call.
I mean, I have to be on there, right? Can that be my call to fame? Being one of the templates.
We'll have you. We'll have Dan. Right.
Great.
We've made it.
We'll make you all as metahumans and then make you kart.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God. All right. Well, there's a ton more questions here. I want to make sure we can get through some of
Surely.
them. But thank you for showing us that last one too. That really was like a magnificent. And there's one more. So applause there. Next question that I have for y'all here is they're wondering, will there be some examples for data tables in any of these samples, or is that planned?
So I'm using data tables in the first person for the pickups. So the pickups are stored in a data table list with soft references. So we are using an example of data tables there.
That's
And
awesome.
I have a thing for the strategy one, but I'm not sure if it's going to make it. So I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. But yeah, there should be an example in then if I finish it and it works.
Yeah.
So there's an
Again,
asterisk.
here, yeah, won't promise anything, but I just added it to my notes. So again, feedback always useful.
Awesome. There we go. This is how it's done. This next question is they're really interested in the development process behind these templates. What sparked the need to create these specifically? Were they based on common user requests, internal goals, or something else?
Well, I mean, this one came from Sjord, who's our boss's boss at this point, I think, who had kind of like identified this as a problem, and it was, it's one of those things where he said it, and then you're like, yeah, uh, you look at them and you're like, this is really obvious. These templates have nothing in them, and there's nothing really to do. And like as soon as he said it, you were just kind of like, yeah, you do kind of open up the templates, and then you're like, what do I do now? And there's nothing to kind of really do in them. So that was the big driver, is that kind of he was just going in and being like, we need this, we need to get, we've looked at data of people, kind of like how often their engine is opened and then closed after a certain amount of time, um, and things like that. So you kind of, we see that there are a lot of people opening up the engine and kind of bouncing off it because they're not really sure what to do. So we're planning a lot of content around kind of helping those specific groups, so that they open the engine and there's stuff to do, and there's intriguing things to look at, and there's content to explore.
That's awesome. In a kind of similar vein, a follow-up question to that was when you were making the different variants, did you end up adding in all of the, because you showed a bunch of examples of like there's platforms, there's different jumping mechanics, there's a bunch of little things all included in these templates. And they're curious if that was planned originally, or if it was just as you were building, you found pain points that you wanted to address as you went through, or even a little bit of both.
I think it was quite organic. I think we each kind of like took a template each, or two templates each in some cases, and we kind of went, let's just build whatever we want. Let's just go absolutely. We can do whatever we want with them. Trying to uh, pick up on common trends in game development at the moment. Kind of what kind of games are
Mhm.
people building? What kind of games do people want to build? And then kind of building the variants with that in mind. So we did a big push on variants and basically went, kind of pick whichever variant you want, build all the stuff for it. And we found that quite organically, a lot of the shared content that is needed is needed across the board, right? So
Mhm.
the door one's a really good example, where we were all kind of like ending up building a door, in one form
Person.
or another. We haven't needed it in the vehicle template, I do have to admit that, but all the other ones we have, and same with like a jump pad as well. It's like, one of us made a jump pad, and the others were like, oh, actually, that's really useful. Let's add that in. So, kind of we then kind of like identified all that content that's like, here's the stuff that is kind of broadly useful, and then we can kind of strip out all the stuff that is just a bit too specific, so
Mhm.
that we're keeping things nice and streamlined, but the majority of content is shared.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, let's see here. Going through, gotta find him. Um, Someone is curious about how, if these implement the mover component, and if they do, how does the mover component factor into these templates versus CMC?
So we're not using the mover component. All the templates that are available explicitly do not use any experimental content or any beta content. So while mover is really cool, and we have a great example of it in Titan, which you can download right now, we're not using it for the kind of for the templates at the moment. As soon as Mover comes out of experimental and out of beta and becomes a fully supported, fully fledged feature of the engine that is kind of not going to change substantially or in a way that's going to break things for everyone, we'll move all of the templates over to Mover, and kind of that'll get updated, but then they're just not at the moment.
Yeah. That said, don't discount the character movement component, because there is a lot that you can do with it, right? It's not going to be as modular or as extensible as you might want if you want to do something a little bit more extreme, or if you want to more heavily modify the mechanics. But the character movement component is still going to give you a massive amount of expression for typical game characters, NPCs, all of that stuff. It works with navigation mesh. It's going to work with AI. So there is still it is still one of the core engine features, and it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, there's a good question here. I feel like you sort of addressed it earlier, but just in case anyone popped in late or maybe isn't fully aware of the full circumstances around it. Someone's wondering if the legacy templates will still be available once these ones also become available.
So they won't be available in the newer versions of the engine. Obviously, if you download an older version, you'd still have access to them. But that being said, the variants are going to be optional. So what will actually end up happening is that you'll have all of the templates at a base level will move to a much more simplistic layout. So the third person one will still have a third person character that's Manny or Quinn and can run around and kind of like an empty area, and it's as lightweight as it can possibly be. And then these variants are kind of additional options that you can choose to add on top or not to. So that's kind of the way that we're doing it. So the original templates are in some ways going away, but really it's more that they're just being restructured. So the first person's a great example of this, right? So you can now choose to just not have any weapons in the first person example if you don't want them in there. So it's only when you add the shooter variant that you get the weapons. And if you choose not to add it, then you just have the first person character running around. So I'm hopeful that people will like it, because it means that they have much more granular control over what they're bringing into a new project from a template perspective.
There's a question here about, are all of the templates planned to have variants, and do you intend on adding more variants going forward in the future as well?
That's a good question. When we don't want to do too many variants, because at the end of the day, we've got to manage all of these, and we want to update them as well. So we don't want these to just be like a one and done thing. We want to make sure that they're staying relevant and they're staying viable. So, for example, with the stuff that's currently being spawned with Blueprint, we'll move that over to PCG as soon as PCG is available. When Mover comes out, we'll move the content over to Mover when that's viable. So that, kind of, we do want to update them. So we probably would try to limit to kind of like 2 or 3 variants per project at most. And again, it kind of depends on people, on user feedback as well, right? Like what do people want? What's popular, what's not popular, what are people just ignoring? If we find that actually no one wants the horror variant, then we'd probably strip that out and replace it with something else, with less spiders, and kind of things like that. So we're not going to add spiders, by the way, to the horror variant. Don't worry, that's not happening.
It will be terrifying primitive geometry.
Yeah, that's just mean. So yeah, we're listening to people. We want to do the most helpful thing, but we do want to manage those templates as well. We don't want it to get too blown out too quickly. We're a small team.
Yeah, small team handling a lot of stuff, especially if outside of just these templates too. Like you said, you're all kind of all over the place in a whole bunch of things. So that's understandable.
Yeah, we've got new maps coming to content examples, which is going to be good as well. And yeah, new stuff for samples. It's all good.
Other things, mysterious things.
Yeah.
Probably see us talking about on here at some point.
Yes, I'll take it. That was a verbal handshake, is what just happened.
What we're
So
doing is we're setting up this season part 2 that drops in the summer. It's just like a Netflix show. It's the end of the spring season, dramatic cliffhanger. Come back in the summer, everyone will be really excited to see what we drop then.
exactly. Another question here is they're curious if you have. Sorry, I just forgot how to read. That was me buffering in real time. They're curious if you're going to show how to swap the camera from left to right shoulder, and if not, is that something you could add to your plans?
I just added it to my notes.
There we go. This is the time, everyone.
Yeah, I know Seb's going to put that work in. I just want you to know that I'm not going to do that for the first person to go left-handed to right-handed. That's just it's too much.
Wow, we see.
Yeah, well, in your case, you have to modify the animation blueprint, control rig, all of that stuff. In my case, it's just a minus sign somewhere, and I'm done. So that's doable.
But it's a good suggestion. So
absolutely, it's great.
This one's fun. What is each of your favorite things that you have added to these templates?
Mine's the cones in the vehicle. It's just fun to drive over them, and just have stuff to drive into. It's great. I would say the first person stuff, but honestly, that has been hard. Like that is, creating a dedicated control rig to handle animation warping for everything. It's been great because it's been a challenge, but
it's less love and more of kind of a gritty mutual respect at this point.
Yeah. Like it came out of that fight bloodied, and there was like a nod at each other at the end, but.
I am kind of a sucker for my giant physics cube in the side-scrolling one, just because it's like the size of a small building.
Not your Akira explosion.
I was gonna say my anime explosion, but I think actually, really, it probably is the side-scrolling camera because I've wanted to write one forever, and Aaron put up with me talking about cameras for way too long before. Go, just do it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, in my case.
Sam is never heard from again.
Yeah. In my case, I think it's the ragdoll animation reactions on hit. I think that they're very satisfying, and once you get them done, I don't know, it contributes a lot to actually feeling powerful in game. So yeah, that works.
It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, okay, not to pick favorites because all of them were incredible. All of the work that you do is incredible. I want to throw that out there. All three of you are equally appreciated in my books. However,
sensing a butt. Yeah.
The charge up punch in Seb's sample was awesome. The impact, I felt that. I felt powerful through just watching you charge up that punch. So
it's how we all punch, I think. You kind of like hold it here and kind of break your arm and walk around. Classic.
Yeah.
It's kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
if you've ever played Kung Fu on the Nintendo, that's pretty much how the enemies come at you. They got one fist raised behind their head. They're ready to like power punch you into ragdoll.
Yeah, it's awesome. Even from the enemy standpoint too, because there was a point there where you returned and then two of them came up and both charge punched you at the same time. It was brutal. It was amazing. I love this.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Charge Punch came out pretty well. The roundhouse kick that needs a lot of work, but hopefully I can do another pass before we have to ship this, or we can get another animator to actually do actual non-coder animation work. But we'll see.
your animations are good. I will not accept any more any more animation
Sebastian
trash talk
slander.
in this stream. It's all good. All the work
Yep.
that you all have done is incredible.
Thanks.
Let's see. What is next here? Few are sort of repeats, and I'm trying to avoid those as much as possible. Are there any plans for other types of templates in the future as well? Or is this kind of you're updating these, adding the variants that you have planned, and then just kind of seeing how those go for a bit?
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. We'll see what more people want.
Make your
Mhm.
voices heard. You
Mm.
know, like if there's something that we haven't covered that you'd really like to see, let Epic know in a friendly and constructive way. And we will definitely, like think about it and see if we can come up with something that fits those needs. Because yeah, ultimately we want people to use the engine to make cool stuff. And so whatever we can do to help that, we'll do.
Yeah,
Friendly,
absolutely.
constructive.
All right. Well, there's a few other questions, but I think I have one more, and I think it's a good one to end on for y'all. Um, what is your hope with these templates? Because if I am to condense some of the questions all down into one, there's some concerns where folks are worried about, am I not going to know how to actually make these systems myself if I just follow templates, or does this detract
Mhm.
from my own projects and that kind of stuff? And I would love to hear your thoughts on what are these templates for? What are you intending for people to do with them? What is the purpose for them?
Yeah, I mean they're definitely intended to be an educational resource. Uh, the way that I kind of learned a lot of, kind of game development was downloading projects and picking them apart. And I still think that that's the best way to learn this stuff. It's why I love samples so much and demos. Kind of, I still remember downloading. I think it was like I think it was someone from Epic. I think it was Jordan actually who did the bathhouse scene from one of the Street Fighter games, but for like a polycount challenge. And it was incredible, right? Like it was this, it was this really nicely done scene. Posted up the scene so you could download the project. And I remember just digging apart all of the materials and all of the setups and textures and stuff like that. One of the things I really love about UEFN is that you can open up all of the textures and all of the models for all of the assets that have been made in Fortnite, and the asset quality is just incredible for those things. So yeah, like the templates are very much supposed to be, here is a starting off point, and you can open up all of these things, and it's nicely commented, and it's not too complicated. It just shows you like the basic bare bones, and then what I'm hoping will happen is that people will start adding to it. They'll go, oh, I wonder
Mhm.
if I could make my own gun for this, or I wonder if I could do my own effects for the jump pad, or I wonder if I change this level and redesign it, I could make a cool cool arena, or a cool combat sequence, or a cool platforming area. That's kind of my big hope, is that people take this stuff and they run with it. So it's not something that's going to turn people away. It's going to inspire people to be like, yes, let's build something cool with this.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
to make it your own. That's my hope ultimately is yeah, it's like people take it and go, oh yeah, like they take the side scrolling template and make a whole game. Like you could build a whole game with that. and in doing so learn so much about game development, and what you'll end up with won't resemble the side-scrolling template at all. It'll be entirely yours. It'll be your thing that you made with a little bit of help from us at the beginning. But I mean, the thing that got me sort of, and I think I've mentioned this a couple times, is that I tried to think of all the things I wish I'd known when I'd started building stuff in Unreal. Because I'd been building games for a long time, but I hadn't used Unreal till Unreal 4. So I had a bunch of, this is how you should do things, sort of preconceived notions that didn't necessarily apply to Unreal. And so I was a sort of a learning process of, oh, in Unreal, you do it like this. And so if we can provide you with good, clean examples of how to do basic video game things in UE5, then it starts you off in a strong position where you're not playing catch up. You already know how to do all the basics, and you can focus on the specific things you need.
Yeah, you can go so
Yep.
far with templates, right? Like, when I did Bears Can't Drift all those many years ago, that's the third person character template, right? With a cart, where the third person character should be in a bear stuck on top of it, right? Like you can do so much with templates, good or bad. But you can modify them to the point where they're completely unrecognizable, and that's kind of like the intention.
Every UE game I've shipped has started out as the first or third person template, just sort of almost by default. And then you're like, oh yeah, that cube is still in there, and we still have many. Should probably remove those before we ship in order to make our download smaller. But yeah, unless you're like a hardcore, if you're a hardcore developer, you'd be like, oh, blank project, I'm gonna start from nothing, or I'm gonna start with Lyra and look at some really intense C++ code. Whereas, with us, it's like, put your foot in the pool, see what temperature the water is, see how you feel about it, and then go from there.
I cannot disagree with it. I think that if you're a hardcore developer, you probably want to get to results as fast as possible, and templates are a good way to get there without having to worry about coding a lot of stuff that you're going to code pretty much every single time, right? I'm kind of remembering some of the early conversations that we had when we started doing some of the variants. And something that stuck with me is, well, this should probably be the second step, a representation of the second step that you take into the engine. Okay, you downloaded, you created your account, you open the editor. Okay, you hit the new template. You want to make some kind of game that has some mixture of components from different game mechanics, from different references. But then, how do you do it? Okay, and that's where I think that we identified some of the gaps there, and it was pretty easy to just provide a little bit more, just give you at least a nudge in the right direction. Yeah, you're probably not going to use the same exact mechanics, the same exact blueprints or C++ code that we provide, but at least this is going to give you a hint of how you can actually use some of the resources that the engine gives you to just go in the right direction that you wanna take it, right? And I think that there's a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities to just be creative and expand on what the basic variants are giving you on this.
Yeah. I love that. I agree. I think it could go either way. And someone said something in chat that I fully agree with too, where they said it's kind of to each their own in this department for whoever decides what works best for them. But yeah, I love hearing all of your thoughts on it. I just wanted to let you have your chance to talk about what the templates are to you, what you hope for people to get from them. I really do also want to reemphasize what you were saying about these are educational, especially with the amount of effort you're putting into explaining each aspect of it. So it's easy for people to actually open the different systems and know what's working, how it's functioning the way that it is. And that's really awesome. I really appreciate the work that y'all are doing, basically. This is the short version of it. Thanks for doing
Very
this,
nice.
y'all.
Thanks for having us. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thanks for being here. It's always a good time to have the three come back on the show. I think everyone in chat could probably also agree. Not just from Titan, which I will now also do a shameless plug for that. In case anyone hasn't checked it out and downloaded it, you should, because it's awesome. Yeah, that and everything else that y'all are working on is incredible. And I'm excited to see what folks do when they can get their hands on these templates in the future. Because it's a sneak peek. Things may change. We don't know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming on today and chatting with us and going through all of these really cool templates that you've made and all the updates to them. Appreciate your time and you being here and answering questions and all that good stuff. It's always a wonderful time. And also thank you everyone who came to watch the show. It wouldn't be what it is without you and your interaction and you being here. The show is for you ultimately. So if you're not here, why are we here? So thank you for taking the time. I appreciate that as well. In case anyone missed it, there's a couple of cool things that have happened recently. Mentioned at the very beginning of the stream, which you can roll back and watch because we post all of our streams in video format that can be viewed on demand on both our Twitch and YouTube channel at Unreal Engine. You can also keep up with us at Unreal Engine on all of our socials to keep up with the latest news, updates, all that kind of good stuff. And then last but certainly not least, if you haven't already, please join us on the Epic Developer Community. That is where we have our forums. That's where we have our documentation for the engine. That's where we have tutorials, learning courses, all that kind of lots of educational material that's made both by Epic staff and community members as well. So pretty much anything you could ever need in regards to the engine is available there. And if you missed the announcement at the beginning, other thing that's going to get added there soon is some verified solutions from UDN, or now known as Epic Pro Support as well. So you'll be able to get some insights on some of that licensee support that's gone through and help them with their projects, and will hopefully also help you with yours. But that's everything, I think. Yes. Any last things that y'all want to say before we wrap up?
You just plug Titan too. Download Project Titan. It's great.
Yeah.
You'll see many strange things.
Wonderful, strange things.
Yes, wonderful, strange things.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd just
Well, thank you
say,
so much.
yeah, I'd just say, feedback, this, it's what makes things better. So just please let us know in the comments. We'll be watching. Let us know what you thought, what's missing, what you'd like to see.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.